Keep your online purchases secure with privacy.com. Join at the link in the description and get $5 for free off any online purchase. What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Riot is pretty infamous for their consistent updates and quality of life changes to League of Legends. You know, they're consistently balancing, tweaking, and in particular when it comes to reworks, sometimes they just don't always go as planned. So today I wanted to take a look at some reworks that caused Riot to have some serious regrets, and maybe what we can expect for those champions in the future. So if you enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like button or let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for some more videos. So first up on our list at the number 5 spot, we're kicking it off with LeBlanc's rework during the Mage update from May 4th of 2016. This rework was widely regarded as a poor rework and kind of left LeBlanc in a really odd state. Her fast moving and burst style character was changed to much more of a mage style kit with delayed burst damage, but at the same time with not that much to compensate for it. This quickly left LeBlanc in a pretty horrible state as Riot desperately tried to tweak her balance left and right, first giving her way too much damage and then dialing it back down and making her way too weak. About a year after Riot's rework, they finally decided to just straight up revert all of the changes they made to LeBlanc and bring her old kit back on April 18th of 2018. This of course brought a lot of joy to many assassin mains as well as LeBlanc 1 tricks. It however probably also brought a lot of tears to the minds of the AD carry players. With that being said though, there's no arguing that overall LeBlanc is in a much better state now than she used to be. Her base kit is definitely not perfect, and it's definitely possible Riot might make another attempt in changing her once more in the future. It's safe to assume they'll take what they learned from the past and hopefully do much better with it the next time around. Next up on our list, we have a rework for Rengar. More specifically, the rework from April of 2014. This rework was definitely regarded as a pretty big miss altogether. I think the biggest mistake they probably made was taking the main aspect of the champion, which was his stealth, and adding this really huge indicator to when he's near you, which essentially just creates this really weird and it's kind of janky stealth mechanic that isn't really that stealthy to begin with. Besides that, there's also a lot of other very glaring issues that were raised. For example, he came out of his rework being really weak, and so Riot was quick to buff his speed and bonus damage in hopes of bringing him back into the game. However, similar to the LeBlanc rework, Riot placed themselves in a very tricky situation as buffing or nerfing certain aspects either just made him very powerful or very useless as a result of the poor design of the rework's mechanics. Eventually, 2 years later, on November 10th of 2016, Riot decided to give Rengar yet another rework during the Assassin update. Similar to LeBlanc, he suffered from Riot trying to add delays in time to kill for assassins. This led to Rengar as well as other assassins feeling more clunkier to play and less smooth overall. Oddly, the best fix for Rengar, however, wasn't a complete revert, but kind of like this half revert. It's definitely a weird concept that Riot seems to be doing more and more of, but nonetheless, a pretty decent one. It's nice to see that they're willing to admit that they've made mistakes in the past. Plenty of Rengar players complained about the Q rework and overall scaling, bringing down his burst damage potential, and so Riot in result simply answered all the issues by just reverting his Q back to before and overall scaling to how it used to be prior to the rework. Sure enough, Rengar began to see himself in a much better state altogether, as he was again able to assassinate smoothly with his quality of life changes and well-needed damage buffs. Next up, we've got a champion on our list that's been through quite a few heartaches and has shifted a multitude of times over and over again. And in this video I decided to only include one rework from them because, well, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about right now. It's the infamous Rise rework. Anyway, so this spot isn't necessarily given to one rework in particular, but rather just all of them. From January of 2011 all the way through April of 2015, and he didn't stop when another one came in July of 2016. This crazily reworked champion has seen some of the most overpowered moments in League of Legends history, as he's utterly dominated the world stage all the way down to being completely useless and forgotten for quite some time. And the funny thing is that every single rework he's received has never really even ever been remotely balanced or well designed. He's pretty much always been stuck in this spot where he's extremely overpowered in pro play, but as a result of the design of his mechanics, is completely useless at the average level of play. It's no denying that Riot has definitely struggled in finding a good spot for Rise as a champion, all while retaining his core fundamentals. Even now, it's kind of safe to say that he's not in his ideal spot, as he continues to suffer the balance issue of just being way too strong or way too weak as a result of the design of his mechanics. And as a result, Riot has even mentioned that they're likely going to rework Rise once again in the future. Riot even called the latest rework from 2016 the rework, and it's now their third or fourth time overhauling the champion entirely. His main problems, as quoted from Riot themselves, is that he was too difficult to learn, but too strong once you've mastered him, and too confusing to lane against. Now with Riot's last rework, they definitely got a lot closer to their overall goal for Ryze as a champion. I guess they wanted to remove a lot of the overwhelming issues that plagued the champion before, while retaining this high skill cap design. They at least came out with a kit that retained a much more up-to-date and modern playstyle for League, while removing some of his bigger problems, but he definitely still has major balance issues in terms of his design. And it's going to be interesting to see if Riot decides to rework him again, because it seems like they've been hinting at it a lot already. Next up, we're taking a leap back to the Marksman update that went on during November of 2015, and I decided to give the number 2 spot to the Kog'Maw rework. This rework had Kog'Maw take a massive blow as they moved his ultimate living artillery from a primary source of damage to kind of just picking off running away enemies type of ability, as Riot mentioned. This left Kog'Maw with much to be desired, as his already very squishy and vulnerable AD carry gameplay was forced to get a little closer to his enemies, not to mention that it also completely destroyed the design of AP Kog'Maw. His entire reworked kit was actually based around the idea of having weaker early game and a stronger late game. But the thing is that Kog'Maw's previous kit was already like this, but the rework just enforced it way harder, making an already weak early game champion way more vulnerable, and then forcing him to attack from closer range meant that all Kog'Maw players were essentially just set up for a lot of hardships and left in a game state that you kind of just were forced to rely on your team to protect you. Now the reason why I decided to give this rework the number 2 spot, although I don't think it was necessarily the second worst rework ever, is that this was actually the first rework in League of Legends that Riot ever straight up reverted completely. They completely and utterly scrapped the old rework from this design and brought back the old Kog'Maw from before the rework. And I felt that led to this rework deserving a little bit of a higher spot on the list, because it really set the stage for Riot finally being able to willing to admit the fact that their reworks are not perfect and that they make a lot of mistakes with them, and that they're not afraid to just straight up remove them if necessary. Alongside reverting his rework, they also altered some of his stats to be a little bit better, and then buffed weak points to bring the champion back to a much healthier state for the game, and especially for Kog'Maw mains. And with all that being said, the number 1 spot, the biggest failure of a rework in League of Legends history, the real point of no return, and most definitely the change, the rework that Riot regrets the most by far, has definitely got to be a little part of the infamous Juggernaut rework on August 26 of 2015, and much more specifically, what Riot did to Mordekaiser. The thing is, this Juggernaut rework as a whole put a lot of the affected champions in very odd positions. It's safe to say that the entire rework for all the Juggernauts didn't really go smoothly at all, mainly just because they were all extremely overpowered on release. However, while most of the Juggernaut rework champions were eventually able to settle into a stable spot after some nerfs, Mordekaiser had it the roughest, as not only did he go for a rollercoaster of a ride, but is still affected to this day. Now the truth is, he was buffed into a monstrous, unstoppable force at the time, becoming what was probably the best champion in the entire game, before being utterly nerfed into the ground and completely forgotten for many years. Then came the eventual rework, and it flopped so hard it quite literally destroyed him as a champion altogether. At the very least, right at the start of the rework, Worlds came by and saw Mordekaiser instantly banned in every single match. He was so insanely broken and overtuned that he was probably the best champion in the entire game. He only got past the pick phase for 4 games, and at the Worlds tournament, he won every single game he was played in. He had a 100% win rate at the Worlds tournament, and was feared throughout the entire event by everyone. I mean, the entire Worlds itself at the time was called a balanced disaster, and Mordekaiser was way up there at the tip of the spear. His major shift in a kit that relied on your team was a very odd mechanic in a champion that was supposed to be this big, massive juggernaut of a top laner. Worst of all is how badly he was nerfed after Worlds as a result of his poor design, making him completely unplayable in the top lane and a very mediocre pick in the bottom lane. And because his rework was so overtuned in terms of mechanics, Riot was just forced to nerf him into the ground, and eventually he was just left in this state of disrepair that he's never really recovered from. And it's the fact that Mordekaiser has been so heavily affected by this rework, and that he's never really recovered from it, that places him at the top of this list. He's been through so many weird phases. For a while, your best bet was taking him mid, which was just so odd, and he's still got an identity crisis to this day. He's been played in the jungle, he's been played on support, he's done all these crazy weird builds, and in particular, there's also a really famous Reddit thread where someone compiled the list of all the unfixed Mordekaiser bugs, and I think he's definitely the most bugged champion in League of Legends. Has something like 170 bugs in total, I think. Something crazy. His design is just so clunky, his mechanics are so weird. With that being said though, Riot just recently announced a full-scale rework for Mordekaiser, finally, and I think it's safe to assume that this heavy metal beast back in the days of dominating the Season 1 World Championship, who's supposed to just absolutely destroy enemies, is going to make a return instead of being this wet noodle guy that gives his allies a shield. The rework definitely completely took away from both his style, his gameplay, his theme, really just everything, and I'm definitely hoping that Riot really nails his next upcoming rework as they take from the mistakes of their previous one and improve upon the champion. I guess only time will tell though. Special thanks to our sponsor, Privacy.com. Protect your online purchases and get $5 for free using Privacy.com at the link in the description. Privacy.com makes it so that purchasing online is more secure, simple, and fast. You can create a virtual card instead of using your own card information with just one click or by using the browser extension. And since they help you to use virtual cards for your purchases instead of your own payment information, you won't have to worry about forgetting to cancel a subscription from a free trial or being billed without your consent from random websites online, or ever just giving out your information to sketchy websites in general. With just one click, you can autofill your dynamic purchase into the checkout form to make purchases faster, easier, and much more secure than using your own debit card, and it's 100% free. And in case you're worried, Privacy.com has top-notch security. It's upheld to the same standards as your bank and uses military-grade encryption to hold any and all sensitive information. And the best part, it's completely free to use. If you sign up at the link in the description, you'll get $5 from them to spend on any online purchase. Since it can be used for really just any online purchase, it's literally free money. Go to privacy.com/Gaming Curios and sign up now. Again, you can sign up at privacy.com/GAMINGCURIOS to get $5 for free on your first purchase today. And big thanks to them for sponsoring our videos. Anyway, that's just about it for today. I thought this was a kind of interesting perspective into the design of some of Riot's old reworks. Let me know what you think was the worst rework in League of Legends history in the comments below. Definitely subscribe for more videos like this one in the future. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.